5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to Too Confused to Lose podcast. I am your host, Ashton Hamlegs Bass. It is Wednesday, March 2nd, and we are joined today by another very special guest. Some may say the specialist of guests. He is an armchair quarterback, and he is all things sports. It is my good friend, Joe Harrington.
Hey, how's it going? Good to see you.
going?
Good to see you. Good to be here.
So, last week I spoke with Coach Alex Hall, football coach at Chowan, and so we spent a lot of time on football. I'm going to try not to spend quite as much time on football today.
We could spend an entire hour on football if you want.
We can spend. I'm sure I could talk to you for hours on anything. This man is a gem. But I'm going to start with something very interesting. The Bills are interested in Gronkowski. You know, Rob Gronkowski is a free agent. He is getting a little older, but to most, he is probably still considered one of, if not the best tight end in football.
Okay.
Thoughts about Gronk in Buffalo?
I'm a Bills Mafia guy.
Really?
So yeah, freshly since I've followed. I don't really have a team.
Mm-hmm.
I have followed players that I love. So ever since I was a young buck. It was Terry Bradshaw, it was the Steelers. Then it was Peyton Manning, guess what? Colts.
Mm-hmm.
But then they got Andrew Luck, I stayed Colts.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then when he retired and they drafted Josh Allen and I watched him play a couple, I was like, all right, now I'm a Bills fan. And one of my good buddies back home, G-Raw, shout out G-Raw, his family where his in-laws are from Buffalo. So, that was like a week after they got beat, they were heading up there for the weekend. It's like, it might be a little down time there since they got, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They got beat that one game. So I love Gronk, and he said TB is his only quarterback. So I don't know. I'm thinking if you're gonna have somebody else throw the pigskin to you, it may as well be Josh Allen to me.
I mean, I can see that being a great fit with all the weapons he's got. The only thing I'll say, and it intrigues me a little more, is as good as Gronk is at catching the ball, he's also an excellent blocking tight end. And he has also been on the record as saying he would love to play in Cincinnati with Joe Burrow.
Right.
I think Cincinnati's probably a little better fit, but it all comes down to this.
Right.
If you ain't got the money, you ain't got the money.
Sure.
So we'll see how that goes. I don't think he goes anywhere. I think he just calls of the career and rides off into the sunset.
I think so. I think that would. I think that'd probably be best for him. That's the way I see it going down. It's just him.
He's done everything that you could do
right
as a professional football player. He's got rings. He's got stats. He's got records.
The only thing he hadn't got are the Tony Gonzalez. He's got I think more yardage, more catches, more TDs. And then, there aren't many ahead of him.
No.
As far as tight end categories.
No, not at all. And especially if you look at playoff stats, I think him and And I think him and Brady together, they hold the record for most touchdowns between one quarterback and one tight end. I think it's over 120 now. They've had just them two, which is astounding in itself. But yeah, I don't see him going anywhere except to the beach or to the weed shop.
Amen.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pose this question the best way I know how, and I say it like that because I hate watching baseball. It's like watching paint dry. Obviously, I have to watch some of it and cover some of it in this business.
It is. Yeah. We are clicking here because I stopped watching baseball probably 2 decades ago. I think one of the last games I watched from tip to finish was a game that Greg Maddux pitched for the Braves, and I pitched all through college. Mm-hmm. So I watched him pitch a 59 or 62 total pitches complete game.
Wow.
That will never be. Come on.
That's something you never see.
Yeah.
Never see.
So you sit there and you watch that and you say, a lot of people say it's boring because it wasn't boring to me because I pitched. So I love seeing that, him place it exactly where, the mitt was put. I'll put the mitt here, he puts it there. So I love watching that. But the last game I completely watched was, and I was done after that, was Nolan Ryan's last no-hitter. And I was at Station 7 in Portsmouth, Virginia, at a fire station, sitting there, and me and my lieutenant at the time watched that whole game. So again, the last 2 games I watch in MLB is, Nolan Ryan no-hitter, Greg Maddux, 59, that's crazy.
Oh, for sure. Well, it's definitely 2 good games to go out on.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I think.
For sure. What are they going to do about the lockout, man?
I don't know. That's why I say right now I don't really care.
Well, and I think that's the problem with baseball in general. Nobody cares.
Right.
And it's for 2 reasons. Number one, we're normal guys.
Right.
We can't fathom I can't at least fathom the amount of money that these guys are arguing over.
No.
And you have to look at it like this, folks. Baseball and basketball are 2 of the only sports where contracts are guaranteed from A to Z. Most other sports, they say that you're supposed to get paid, let's say 2 years, $30 million, which sounds like $15 million a year, but what that really is more like $8 to $10 million a year with bonuses.
Right.
That's not the case with baseball and basketball. What they say they're getting paid per year is exactly what they're getting paid per year, regardless.
Right.
And with that being said, baseball has some of the highest paid players in all of professional sports in America. So how you decipher which side of the millionaires column deserves more money, whether it be the owners or the players, is irreprehensible to me. And I'm like this. You spent your entire life trying to get to the major leagues. You finally get to the major leagues. You're going to be there for however long you're going to be there. Even if you're only there for a year, major leagues, even the bottom of the barrel guys are making $750K a year.
Yeah, that's league minimum. Right.
So, I mean, it's almost $1 million. Who cares? Take what they give you. Go back to playing baseball. Your sport's already becoming irrelevant. As fast-paced as the NFL has gotten, as streamlined as the NFL has gotten, as good as the broadcasts are with the National Basketball Association, you're going by the wayside. And we hate to see it because, like yourself, I played baseball in my younger years, and I was a left-handed batter. I played center field. I enjoyed the game, but it's tough to watch. You're not going to continue to get viewership that way.
It is. I still have a very good friend. They're finally coming here next weekend. Well, they've been here a couple times in Murfreesboro, but coming to celebrate my birthday, which was January 18th, and we're having my birthday celebration with them. We gathered for everybody's birthday next Saturday, so 12th. But he's raised 3 boys. Cameron, Caleb, and Jet, and he is all about baseball. And he's all about the Washington Nationals. And when they come on, he's got if they happen to schedule a baseball game during the Super Bowl, he'd probably watch that instead. His wife Lisa loves it. But he is still a staunch baseball guy. When he tries to tell me something, I go, Ace, I get it, man, but I can't pronounce half the guys' names anymore anyway. So I mean, I don't enjoy it anymore. It's just a totally different game to me. Even though back in the day, when I was early on as a firefighter, and somebody asked me, how do you like that? I was like, are you kidding me? I get paid to do what 3/4 of Americans volunteer to do.
Right.
3/4 of the task force for firefighting in America are volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
I am 25% of that to get paid to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the best job. I always used to say it's the best job in the world other than a relief pitcher in the majors. That was my other thing. If I could be a relief pitcher, Eckersley, Dennis Eckersley, would sit on the bench until they say, hey, Dennis, we need you. Okay, go out there and throw 6 pitches. You're done. All right? Man, where's my $2.7 million?
Yeah.
I mean, what? So I could watch it then if I was getting paid to do it and was, on the way to the Hall of Fame, sure. But you're right, Ashton. It's just tough to watch.
They're trying to do all these things with the robotic umpires and this, what's the word I'm looking for? Where, come on, Ashton, think. These reviews, they can go back and review.
Okay.
Make sure to get the call.
Yeah, And it's a replay.
Right, thank you. Instant replay. And they've got clocks on everybody now, but I just don't know that there's a way for baseball to be played any faster than it's already being played. And on top of that, you made a great point. You can't pronounce any of their names anymore. They should change it from Major League Baseball to Major Cuban Baseball.
Right.
Because 90% of your prospects nowadays are coming
Dominican Republic,
from overseas.
Mexico, down South America. Here's the thing, and this is what I tell, again, people who want their boys to be professional baseball players, and I go, you're fighting a tough uphill battle. I mean, where your boys playing baseball maybe March, April, May, June, and they might get in nowadays. We are just had back in the 70s and 80s. We had one season of baseball. We didn't have spring baseball, summer baseball, fall. Well, guess what? They have baseball January through December.
Every year.
When you're down there and it's 75 degrees or 90 degrees every day, the weeks that you're shoveling snow, or guess what? They're playing baseball.
Right.
So that's hard to compete against.
Well, they're not going home and playing Fortnite either.
Right. No.
Our boys, we get done playing baseball, it's time to go get some pizza and then go play Fortnite. These boys get done playing baseball, they go home after running a mile to get home and play more baseball.
Exactly.
Because they realize it's the only way out.
Right.
For most Americans, it's a sport.
Sure.
And, for all these guys in these third world countries, it's not a sport. It's the only way they can conceivably see you get out of the situation they're in.
Right.
And when somebody's literally fighting for their life, as opposed to somebody who just decided of all the opportunities that are afforded to them in this country that baseball is what they wanted to do, it is hard to win that fight.
It takes more than that upper 10% of the people put on this planet when it comes to grit and will and desire. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You gotta have that desire up in the 95, 90 to 100 percentile. It can't be, well, if I don't do it, I'll go sell insurance with my uncle. Well, guess what? They're not going to sell insurance with their uncle.
No.
They're playing ball.
They're playing ball.
Right.
They're going to be on Grandma and Grandpa's farm.
Right.
And they're not worried about making enough runs and getting enough hits to get a scholarship to play at some college somewhere.
Right.
Right. Unfortunately, that's the system we're in. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Adam Foxwell here at Gray Fox Electronics, your everything electronics store in Suffolk, Virginia. We can help with anything from sales, repairs, and maintenance. No credit, no problem. We offer a SEMA instant text approval payment options. Just text 44257 to 22462 on your cell phone, and within minutes you're approved. Come visit our showroom today and check out our nice selection of like new iPhones, HD TVs, iPads, laptops, notebooks, and more. Use your SEMA approval and walk out with the electronics of your dreams. Need accessories? We got them. Looking for phone plan choices? We got them. Looking for gaming systems? We got them, or we can build you one. Need a PC for home of office? We got them. That's Gray Fox Electronics at 2815 Godwin Boulevard, Suite I-1, right behind the Burger King and beside Sal's in the shopping center 3 blocks from Oversea Hospital in Suffolk, Virginia. Or check us out on Facebook under Gray Fox Electronics, or give us a call at 757-663-4194.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We're going to switch gears a little bit here. So, Phil Mickelson's been in some hot water here recently over some comments he made about the supposed Saudi Arabian Super League that they're trying to put together to rival the PGA Tour.
Right.
Have you seen these comments he's made?
I stumbled across it on YouTube, looking for some good 22 bourbon releases. If y'all hear of any, let me know. But That's touchy.
It's touchy, and in my opinion, it was harsh but fair. I mean, he used some very colorful language.
Yeah, he did.
That
Which
probably shouldn't have been the way he went about it, especially when speaking with his publicist, the man who's writing his book as we speak. Probably not the guy you want to use that kind of language with when speaking about something as hot as the Middle East.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I never saw Phil like that. You know, when I watched him, you know, and of course I always, when I watched him, it was probably at the fire station or something, and you know, guys that love to play golf, and you know, I still dabble in it, you know, from time to time, every once in a while, watching Phil and Tiger, and you know, go at it, and he just always seemed real. He seemed down to earth and humble, and then when I see this, I was going, oh my gosh, I guess you never know.
This is going to be a hot take, but I'm gonna go out on a limb here and tell you exactly what happened. He was speaking with this gentleman who leaked these statements. While he was about 6 drinks in, they were sitting around the card table. They had just laid huge bets on some college basketball games, and he wasn't thinking about the repercussions of what he said. All he thought is he was jibber jabbering with his buddies, sitting around the card table while they were about half blitzed. And then it come out, and he immediately had to start backtracking and trying to get ahead of it.
It was too late then.
It was too late then.
Too late.
I will say this. He has got a few guys in his corner. Rory has recently come out and said that, you know, take it with a grain of salt. You know, he used some language he probably shouldn't have, but everybody deserves forgiveness, and I agree with that. Now, you also have to understand, Lefty is one of my heroes. I love golf. Okay. I've played a lot of golf. I played on my high school team all through high school. Golf is something that is, my father was a golf coach when I was growing up. So understandably, I have a special relationship with the game. But that being said, I agree with Phil on one thing he had to say. Everything that the Saudis, as far as sports are concerned, have kind of dabbled in, it's a flash in the pan. You know, they brought the UFC over there during the pandemic so that they could continue to hold these live pay-per-view events. Well, as soon as the pandemic was over, instead of doubling down, putting a little more money into it, now that the UFC had the option to bring it back stateside, now they're over there occasionally just because the facility's there. But if you notice, all the big draw UFC events now are still back over here. And there's been other events and other racing organizations that have done the same thing. It seems like even though the Saudis have more money than they know what to do with, they spend it like children. They find something new and shiny, they'll play with it for an hour, and then it's garbage.
Right.
So I agree with him on that.
Well, you can look at their, you can look at their infrastructure. I mean, yeah, that just shows you that they like to play loose with cash. I don't know, Phil Daggone, but I'm glad Rory's on the side, fellow Irishman. Huh? So, yeah, that's good to hear. Good.
Just a little sidebar.
Okay.
The first time I was ever on Tim's radio show, I was on with Bruce Pittman. We were what's the word? We were hyping up our band Skosh and the barbershop.
Okay.
Well, the first 2 things out of Tim's mouth was he mispronounced the name of our band. And then
we call it squash.
He called it Scotch. Yeah. All right, man. Anyway, then he calls me Jason, and I'm just like, who's Jason? So every time I see him now, I have to tell him, oh, it's so good to see you, Mr. McFarlane. I'm so lovely to see you on top of the morning. And he just looks at me like, dude, what are you talking about?
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's got to say it. I look at him and say, I look at you over there, you sissy cunt. Just sitting there crying like a little sissy wee boy. He's like, what? Yeah, so I guess he just don't. He should be able to get that, though.
He's a short guy. It all goes over his head.
All right.
But anyways,
yeah.
bringing it back to center.
Bring it back.
Arnold Palmer Invitational starts tomorrow.
Okay.
Who's your favorites? Who you like for this one?
I don't know. I ain't even looked at the lineup lately. So, I don't know. Probably Phil.
I mean, if he's playing this,
Right, yeah.
With left-handed golfers, and it's always been this way. When they're hot, they're hot.
Right.
And when they're not, they're not.
Right.
It seems like there's no real long-term stability and reliability to a left-handed player's game. They're either on top of the world or they're going to be 8 over, after day one.
I was like that in college, but it was dancing.
Mm-hmm.
When I was dancing, when I was hot, I was hot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I was, it was the 80s, man. Come on. All you had to do was have somewhat rhythm, and you were in.
Yeah. A little bit of rhythm, parachute pants, and big hair.
No, we had parachute pants, man. That would have been nice.
But no, I like Matsuyama's been hot. For the past couple of months. He's due one. And then Scheffler looks really good too.
Well,
so if you're looking for somebody to put some bets on, don't take my word for it. Pick somebody else. Those are my picks.
Right.
But let's talk about some basketball.
Okay.
It's March 2nd, so March Madness around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
As far as hometown teams, here in the state of North Carolina, it looks like our great last hope is going to be Duke. Man, I don't see anybody else being able to do anything.
I have been a Tar Heel boy even when I lived in the Wahoo state, and the reason why was my cousin Jody. They're from Clayton, right outside Raleigh. Her boyfriend, Tracy, who ended up being her husband, but he was a left-handed quarterback, Clayton High School, and he was going to go play football at UNC. So I remember one time at Thanksgiving, we were all sitting around, and he happened to come with Jody that weekend, and we were sitting there, and he was hollering at Jimmy Black, who was a guard for Carolina back in the late 70s, early 80s. And he was fussing at the TVs. I'll tell him something when I get back home. I was like, what's he talking about? So come to find out, he was friends with some of the guys that were on UNC basketball. So I thought that was the coolest thing in the world, 10-year-old thinking, this is pretty cool. So from that time on, from 79 until the present, that's the only team that I've always followed no matter what. All the way back to the days of, like I said, Lebo and Jimmy Black and all those guys who used to play way back in the day for Dean.
Well, and I think you just said a mouthful there. Is the problem with UNC now is just that with programs like UNC and Duke,
Kentucky, Duke,
and
Kansas,
the guys
one and done.
The guys who have that are major schools, but also have these major Hall of Fame coaches attached.
Right.
When UNC loses Roy Williams, how much does that affect?
Right.
The recruiting process, the kids coming in. Is UNC still UNC without a Dean Smith or without a Roy Williams, or do they have to take a major step back and try and climb back into that place that they always were?
Right. Sometimes something happens and a coach in between, and like Matt was after Dean. Remember the little slice of he used to play Matt. Matt Doherty. Matt Doherty was the coach of UNC for a while, and the one year they were like 11 and 20, and I was like, what happened to Tar Heel basketball? And then it wasn't until Roy won one in Kansas, and then we flipped over to this, and even with the same thing as the head coach now, he's a legend. He's a North Carolina legend, but. When you lose somebody like Roy Williams, think about what's going to happen to Duke when Coach K leaves.
Well, I'm not going to say I know this for a fact, but I feel strongly that if indeed John Shire does get that job, he played at Duke. Most of the kids that will be coming in now are going to be old enough to remember when Shire played for Duke.
Okay.
I remember when Shire played for Duke. And then you've got Nolan Smith behind him as an assistant coach. He played at Duke as well.
Yeah.
I feel like as long as you keep it in-house, and if you're going to bring in somebody, they have to have either been associated with, played for, or be in some way related to the team in order to be able to retain some modicum of success.
Right.
That being said, after doing some research, yes, I figured out who UNC's new coach was. But at first glance, you're like, who the heck is this guy? It's one of the things where, which I understand I'm a younger guy, so I don't keep up with it. I don't keep up with history as much as I should have. But you also have to understand, at that point in time, you're talking about me, who's a 28-year-old. You're trying to recruit 16, 17, 18-year-olds.
Yes.
Who most of the time are going to have no idea who you are.
Right. And well, nowadays it's 12, 13, 14.
Exactly.
When those guys get into middle school and they hit that growth spurt and they were recruiting Shaq when he was 11 years old. You look at his high school basketball picture, it's crazy. It looks like it was set up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how can this gigantic human be with all these little Willy Wonka people? I don't understand it. But it's all, if you get the right coach and he teaches the right system and he can reach his players, that's a big thing. From what I understand, Matt Doherty didn't connect well with his players, and that's half of it to me. To be able to connect, to be able to take the kid who knows who has talent and be able to mold that into still being able to get out there and do what he wants to do, but still, play for the team. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in.
For sure.
Especially when you're starting getting recruited when you're younger. I mean, that's just, you're just out there, just throwing a orange ball around on asphalt, and somebody's looking at you, telling you you got the skills to be. So it's tough when you have that much talent and everybody knows it and everybody expects that from you. It just puts more pressure on the individual.
Right. Well, and you're expecting a teenager to make major life-changing decisions before their
frontal lobe even develops.
Exactly.
Right.
It's a lot to put on anybody.
Right.
But
true.
We wish all the North Carolina teams the best of luck with the tournament, but it looks like Duke is going to be the only one that goes deep enough for any of us to really have a prayer for. And I say that with a glimmer in my eye and a smile on my face because I'm a longtime Duke fan.
Oh boy. Finally comes out the kryptonite.
It is what it is.
Yeah, that makes it fun.
But I myself am like you in fact, we were talking earlier about you being a fan of players more so than teams when it comes to the NFL. I'm the same way with basketball. I don't necessarily have a rooting interest, but I enjoy watching some of the stars.
Yeah.
The Nets are getting ready to get Durant back. And, And it looks like with the easing of restrictions, Kyrie's going to go from a part-time player to be able to play the home games and be a full part of that team. With Durant coming back, Irving taking a bigger role, and you've got Ben Simmons making his debut. Are the Nets now the power in the East?
I would think so.
You would think?
Right.
I mean,
you get KD back.
The Heat's hard to beat right now. The Heat, especially with Victor Oladipo coming back, the Heat are going to be hard to beat. And it looks like James Harden, who the Brooklyn Nets traded for Ben Simmons, down there in Philadelphia with Embiid, they look to mesh really well, man. That they're going to be a problem. It looks like a 3-horse race in the East right now between the Nets, the Sixers, and the Heat. All that could be turned on its head in the next couple of weeks with it being with the NBA season winding down. That being said, this will be the first year. You heard it here first. This will be the first year that I can remember in a long time where LeBron James will not make the playoffs.
Right. Well, I think there was it one other year that he didn't make it? I remember. He's he's like automatic.
It's almost a foregone conclusion.
Right.
He's going to be at least in a conference final, if not the finals.
Right. Sure.
But
it's like,
let's be honest. He's 38 years old.
Right.
He's been playing basketball a long time. He has a ton of miles on his body. Is he in that part of his career now where he's getting ready to take a step back and have to accept the fact that if he wants to continue to play basketball, he's going to have to come off the bench. He's going to have to take less minutes. And he's probably not going to be able to go out there and dominate for 4 whole quarters, put up 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 13 assists every game.
Right.
Is LeBron the type of guy who can take that step back and become a team player, or is he somebody who once he finally realizes that his prime is behind him, he's just going to have to lay it all down?
Well, if he's gotten to that stage where he's like that, he needs to call Brady. Hey man, what's that shit you do? You know what I'm saying? What is that you do to get me to 44 where I can still, pump out a championship? I mean, call him. I'm sure Tom would talk to him.
I mean, hey.
Why wouldn't he?
The TB12 method. It worked for Tom. I mean,
It works.
It works.
It's got to. For him, anyway. I don't know about the millions of others of us, but for Tom, he's amazing.
He is. Coach, last week on the show, he had a very hot take, and I'm interested to see how it goes. He said that Tom Brady is not done playing football, and that he will play this year coming up.
He thinks he's going to San Francisco. Right?
Exactly.
Okay, that's the one that everybody's thinking, and I think I can't remember who threw that out there, but somebody threw it out there. I don't know if it was a CBS guy or the network guy or somebody, but somebody threw that out there, and it's somehow
it's picking up traction.
It did. It grew legs.
It did. It grew legs and got so much traction, in fact, that the front office of San Francisco has come out and said they are not parting ways with Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean that Jimmy Garoppolo can't sit down for a year, let Tom Brady ride off into the sunset with the Niners. But I don't see that happening. It looks like the San Francisco 49ers have just slammed the door on possibly getting Brady for a year or two as a rental, basically.
Sure, yeah.
And I don't blame them. They've got Jimmy Garoppolo. The fans love him. He's a little streaky, and he's injury prone, but the fans love him. And then you've got this great young quarterback behind him.
Well, yeah, and that's the hot thing is really what's going on between Jimmy G and Lance.
Right.
I mean, they want him to. Nowadays, it seems like if you're drafted that high up, you're automatically starting to play.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about, well, he hadn't played ball since 2019, because then the 1 year he didn't play because of COVID, and then the year after that he played 1 ball game.
Right.
So he hadn't played much football. He hadn't taken many hits. But then they say, well, think about Aaron Rodgers. He sat behind, Favre for 3 years.
Exactly.
So,
and in my opinion, that's exactly what Lance needs to do. He needs 1, if not 2 more years, ride the bench, get the reps in, play some preseason games. I have found this in today, unless you're just a special talent, a Joe Burrow, a Trevor Lawrence,
Patrick Mahomes.
Right. Unless you're one of those type of guys, you need 2 to 3 good years behind a solid quarterback in a good system in order to come out and make any sort of statement whatsoever. Mitchell Trubisky, I hope he finds a job. He's on his way out of Buffalo as the backup.
Is he leaving?
He's a free agent.
Yeah.
He's a free agent. But I like Mitchell Trubisky. I just think that between being in Chicago with Matt Nagy, who has made a complete well, I'm not going to say he made it, but he didn't do anything to rectify the situation there in Chicago.
No, he's back with Andy Reid.
Right.
Yeah. So he's back in Kansas City.
Right. He was there.
Kansas City.
Right. So Mitchell Trubisky was there with him, and it was what it was. And then you go, I mean, I get it, it's a paycheck, but you realize unless Josh Allen gets hurt, you're not taking that starting gig. Because he's a generational talent.
Yeah. Yes.
So I hope he finds somewhere to land. I think he is one of these ones who he was thrown to the wolves too quick, and he needed a couple more years to chill and hang out and get the reps and learn how things are done before he got thrown in there.
Right.
Same thing with the boy in Philadelphia, Fields.
Yeah.
I think he could have done with another year or so.
Right.
I mean, he's a great quarterback, don't get me wrong, but how much better would he be if he'd have had time, especially with that organization? Philadelphia they've got some good pieces, but the puzzle is nowhere near complete now.
Right.
And it's a similar situation with Joe Burrow. The only difference is Joe Burrow is so good he makes up for the fact that his offense looks like Swiss cheese.
Well, yeah, his line does, right?
Right.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that's so good it makes up for. Between making it to the Super Bowl, he was sacked 70 times.
Right. I think they set the record for the most times sacked in the Super Bowl,
and still make it to the Super Bowl.
Right.
And but they have a lot of pieces.
They do.
So they better spend they got quite a bit in free agency. They've got cap to play with.
They've got some cap room. Priority number one is going to be re-signing Jesse Bates III.
Okay.
He's the only major piece coming off that team that is a free agent this year. Whether they franchise tag him or whether they go ahead and pay him the money, he's priority number one. Priority number two is to find you some big corn-fed Nebraska boys to put on that offensive line.
Priority number two, priority number three, priority number four, if you ask me.
5 and 6.
I think I think they should squash their whole draft. I mean, how many other picks they have, just drafting all big boys. So,
And so far, they've only signed one offensive lineman from last year's team to a contract extension.
Okay.
Everybody else, you better get in the weight room, start eating some do something, because if not, your job's in jeopardy. And I know that's hard to believe coming off of a Super Bowl appearance. But
that's the only thing that kept them really from winning the Super Bowl.
Exactly. I mean, granted, we're talking about them going up against Aaron Donald and Von Miller, two of the greatest defensive players of this generation.
Right.
But at the same time, you got to, no matter who you're going against, you've got to put the double teams where they need to be, and you've got to give the boy more than a half a second to throw the ball.
Right. Well, I think all of this controversy going on with Kyler Murray is I think remember that playoff game? I think he had his bell rung pretty much the whole game if you watched it. I watched that game because me and we started a fantasy football league in 1991. We just celebrated our 30-year anniversary. Mm-hmm. So me and my brother, my nephew, and some firefighters from Portsmouth. And, so I watch football games because I got to make sure my players do what they're supposed to do. But I have never seen a defensive line just get after somebody. And it wasn't like, sure, other players had been sacked, like Joe Burrow was sacked, 9 times by, I get it. But not every time Kyler Murray dropped back, it didn't matter. They were on him. He didn't even have a chance. What was he? I don't remember. He was something 5 or 7 for 12 or something the entire game. And I remember one time looking at him, he was coming off the field, and I was like, he is out of his gourd right now. He don't know what's going on.
I have not seen the number. I'm sure the number has been disclosed. But Kyler Murray and his agent apparently, according to Ian Rappaport, are asking for an astronomical amount in contract extension.
What Rodgers was asking for? Remember, Rodgers wants $50 million. They want more. Oh. Well,
I can't see it. Show me something, and then we'll talk.
Well, he's still got the Oakland. Who was it? Oakland A's drafted him.
Yes.
Okay, so he might want to give that a look at. I don't know. But
I picked the baseball back up. It's just me.
I don't know how he could. I don't understand why they're. And I think he had a reality check after that game. He went, man, they made him look like a Pop Warner quarterback.
Right. Well, and
that design, whatever they did, and the guys just been Red Bulled up at the right. You know what I mean? They were in the sweet spot, but I have never seen a quarterback struggle.
It reminded me of Cam Newton in the Panthers in the Super Bowl when they played Denver Broncos, because very early in the game, Kyler Murray and Cam Newton in those respective games got popped hard. Cam Newton dropped the ball, and Denver was able to pick it up and score a defensive touchdown.
Right.
Well, ever since then, it was like he either like he give up or he was, to quote Sam Darnold, was seeing ghosts.
Right.
The whole game.
I'm seeing ghosts out there, man.
Right. Kyler Murray was in the same situation. Right off gate, first quarter, gets popped hard, spends the rest of the game running for his life.
He was, yeah.
And
yes.
There's just some quarterbacks out there, you get to them early and often, they're going to shut down.
Right.
But I hate to say it, but if you're one of those quarterbacks who's going to get shut down just because you get your bell rung early, you're not somebody who's going to be getting paid the big bucks. Yeah. It makes no sense.
I just didn't seem like, he had the, whatever it was, the drive, or I don't know, I can't explain it, but I kept thinking, all right, well, he's gonna come back, he'll do all right in the second half, but the entire game from whistle to whistle, he was just, he was running for his life, like Mahomes was against Tampa Bay. Against Tampa Bay last Super Bowl. So this is why these big boys on the edge and on the defensive line will be the ones going up the top. And of course, big boys protecting, the first 3 or 4, 5 picks are going to be either edge rushers or offensive linemen.
Especially this year. I mean, this year's draft is it's not got a very good quarterback class.
No.
According to all the specialists. Who are we to know? I mean, but according to the guys who do this for a living, this year's quarterback class is weak. So it's going to be very top heavy with wide receivers, offensive and defensive linemen, and some specialty positions. And hopefully, these guys, they've learned. You've got these teams like the Rams who mortgaged all of their picks.
Right. They put all the chips in. They were all in.
Right. But you got teams like Oakland and Denver and a few other teams who have basically sold the farm for these draft picks. They've got plenty of draft capital who looking to do some big things out there.
Right. But Philadelphia, what do they have? They have 3 picks in the top 15 or something,
It's insane. And
it's crazy.
Hopefully they'll get what they need because it looks like they've got a decent quarterback.
I think they picked 14, 15, or 15 and 16, and then again at 19. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back to wrap it up on Too Confused to Lose.
An accident. No one wants an accident, but if you're in one, Mike's Auto Body Shop in Ahoskie should be your first choice. With over 35 years of experience in everything from scratch touch-ups, paint jobs, restorations, frame and insurance claims, Mike knows how to do the best job for you. Check us out on Facebook at Mike's Auto Body Shop or give us a call at 252-332-8655. An accident. No one wants an accident, but if you're in one, Mike's Auto Body Shop in Ahoskie should be your first choice. With over 35 years of experience in everything from scratch touch-ups, paint jobs, restorations, frame and insurance claims, Mike knows how to do the best job for you. Check us out on Facebook at Mike's Auto Body Shop or give us a call at 252-332-8655.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I know you don't watch a lot of it, and I know you probably don't follow as closely as I do. I love mixed martial arts.
Okay.
Wrestled in high school.
I follow mixed drinks.
There you go.
Right.
With more mixed drinks.
Yeah.
But
Drinks. Right. Yeah.
This weekend,
Okay.
UFC 272 is Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal. Jorge Masvidal is coming off of a really bad loss, and Colby Covington's coming off of a really close loss. What makes this card special, in my opinion, is the fact that it is the least special card I have seen in years come out of the UFC. The main event, like I just said, Jorge Masvidal, Colby Covington, will be the only main event on a major pay-per-view for UFC in which there is no belt on the line. UFC fans have grown accustomed to having 2 championships on the line for pay-per-views. And
okay, I see what you're saying. Right.
So it'll be the first time in recent memory that I can remember that no belts will change hands after this weekend. That being said, I'll go ahead and say I'll make my picks for the event. I think Colby Covington he's the favorite going in. He's probably going to come out the winner just because Jorge Masvidal, I realize this is a grudge match. I realize these guys hate each other. Jorge Masvidal is quick out the gate, but he fades fast. Colby Covington's got a strong iron chin. He's got great conditioning, and as long as he can outlast that first round barrage from Masvidal, he's got it in the bag. The only way I see them making this interestingly enough for me to buy this pay-per-view is to put the BMF belt on the line. Jorge Masvidal is scared to put it on the line because he realizes that if he does, he's going to lose it, and it's the only thing he's got left. That being said, I cannot even pronounce the co-main event's name. He is a replacement. He is taking a 5-round lightweight fight on 5 days' notice against Rafael Dos Anjos.
I thought it was Phil Mickelson. Not Phil. I thought Phil was in that one. No, sorry, Phil.
I take that southpaw against Dos Anjos at this point.
Well, yeah, he had a wedge in his hand. Yeah, sure.
It's one thing if you're already in shape to take a 3-round fight, but you've got 5 days' notice to prepare for a 5-round war against one of the best lightweights in the division right now. It seems like a bad idea, but hey, you get your name at the top of the card.
5 days? 5 days notice.
5 days notice is what he took this fight on. That's 5 days to prepare for, let's see, 5, 10, 15, 20, for 30 minutes worth of hell in an octagon.
Well, I take 5 days to plan where I'm going to hang a picture or something. I can't, you know what I mean? I can't imagine being 5 days.
This man's got to have cojones the size of coconuts.
That's
whoa, me.
That's quick. That's good luck.
For the rest of the main card, I'm taking Edson Barboza over Mitchell. I'm taking Oliveira over Holland, and I'm in a surprise upset. I'm taking Greg Hardy over Spivak. And that wraps up UFC 272. Anything you want to talk about before we wrap this thing up, man?
No, I don't think so. I think we covered pretty much everything we had down for tonight. So
unfortunately, until the basketball tournament starts and until the next couple of weeks when the PGA really gets back into the swing of some of their majors, we're in that dead
what I call
cycle.
Like a sports speed bump.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's slow down. Ain't what's going on, but yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed it. My name is Ashton Hamlegs Bass, and again, joining me, Mr. Dale Harrington. This has been Too Confused to Lose. Please join us next time. Have a lovely weekend.
Toodaloo.